Life Coach Mama here to talk about marriage. I've been thinking about it with Valentine's Day coming up, and I've gotten lots of questions about different marriage topics. So I just want to address a few things and just do some coaching in general and different topics that frequently come up and address them as a life coach. So first, what is a life coach? Okay. I know some people haven't heard the term, and so here are some key points that I want to address. Number one, a life coach is not a therapist, so no diagnosing here. If you have mental health diagnosis, you work with your counselor and psychiatrist and a doctor in terms of prescribing medication and whatnot. But a life coach can work with that information, of course, to help you in your life and help you get results. A life coach is more of a partner, not here to diagnose you or to tell you what to do, give you advice, but more to listen to you and to give you feedback, to be a sounding board. So in that sense, a life coach is able to challenge your thinking, help you to learn different thinking styles, to ask you if your thoughts are true and positive and helpful, and just teaching you new ways to think. And it's also someone who helps you achieve your goals. If you feel stuck in any area of life and you want to get somewhere and you're not getting there, a lot of times it's your thoughts. And so that's all based on cognitive behavioral therapy. And I know we've all heard about this, but just the idea that our beliefs and our thoughts are going to affect our behaviors. So it's all the cognitive, right, process that's affecting our behaviors. So if we want to change behaviors, so whether that's in health or wellness or weight loss, we want to first work on our thoughts. Of course, that can also be, as this topic is in marriage, anything in our relationships, anything in our personal, emotional life. Okay, it's all about our thoughts. So we spend a lot of time looking at those. Okay, so let's do an example of ABC model. It's something I use in coaching, and it's just from cognitive behavioral therapy. Psychologists have developed it. Okay, so we use these tools that psychologists and counselors use, but we use them as coaches to coach you into a successful and more effective way of life. So in the A, the activating event, the husband says he forgot your date night. Okay, so this is an example of something that can happen in any relationship. Someone forgets something. Now, it's all up to us how we want to think about it. Okay, now, so you might think that if A happens, then C is just going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about C. The result is just because of A. Okay, but in cognitive behavioral therapy, we know, and scientists have been able to learn so much about the brain through the study of neuroscience, and also evolution biologists have learned a lot about how we've evolved and why our brain does what it does, and what those needs were in the beginning of human history, and why our brains were telling us certain things. Okay, so you can have a ton of beliefs. Let's say you're thinking he doesn't care, he doesn't love you, you're alone, it's always going to be this way, this always happens. Either you're projecting in the future or you're ruminating about the past, and then you make a judgment about him and the relationship. I'm not important, the relationship's not important. Okay, so if you're thinking all those negative things, how do you think you're going to end up? Well, of course, you're going to be grumpy or mean towards him, unkind, or really anyone who's there. If you have kids around, you'll take it out on them. You might just escape. We have that fight or flight response, right? So some of us will fight and just go have some chocolates or some potato chips, and some of us will fight. So we might argue with whoever's there or be aggressive. Okay, so those are two different responses that our emotional brain uses. And we want to access our thinking brain, and we want to problem solve. Okay, but if we're too stressed out and we can't access that part of the brain, right? We're not in the hippocampus or the amygdala. We're not going to be able to do what we need to have a better outcome in this circumstance. So if all that's happening, you're alone in your room on your phone or watching Netflix and you're sad and depressed, how do you think you're going to react after you have that initial reaction? Of course, you're going to just continue to spiral down in negativity, and you're not going to be very productive. So if you want to be calm and you want to be confident, you want to be able to problem solve, this is a problem that someone forgot some things, this a special event, then we need to be able to calm ourselves down, and that's something else we can work on in coaching, is how to calm ourselves down and how to think through something and how to problem solve when you're in our thinking brain, not the emotional brain. Okay, so we can do another ABC model. We go from the negative to the positive. Okay, so we looked at the negative thoughts and feelings, and when we believe those things, our brain's telling us what the circumstances. Now we're going to do a positive ABC. So again, A hasn't changed, and A is not affecting C. Okay, B is affecting C. So we need to change the B. We can actually start with the C, ask ourselves how we want this to end or what we want the result to be. But in this case, we're going to work on the B. So how about you think, well, my husband's busy and he just forgot. Okay, or I forget things sometimes. Maybe we can look at ourselves or another person that we have a relationship with that also forgot about something. Okay, and those things are okay, right? We're still friends with that person. So we still talk to our sister, our mom, someone who forgot something. When we forgot or made a mistake, people forgave us or decided not to make it a big deal, and they're still friends with us or in relationship with us, okay? So let's think about something we forgot. I know I've had baby brain for many years, and I just feel like I forget a lot of stuff. So in this scenario, pretty gracious, although my husband doesn't really forget things, but if this were to happen, I feel like I could say, well, I forget a lot. You can get some stuff done around the house, which would be some free time. Maybe you have a babysitter already, but you could still work on something or something that's important to you or fun for you. It depends on kind of what you're going for that time. You could still go out. You could go out alone. Some people, especially if they're introverted, or maybe they're just having busy time right now with little kids, or maybe busy time at work, they'd rather just be alone. So coffee, something just nice and quiet, or just a drive. Everyone has different interests. What that might be for you is different than for someone else, but maybe exercise or going to the gym alone. Okay, maybe you want to call a friend. You never know. Like let's say your husband got sick. You wouldn't be mad then, right? So we don't want to put too much value. We can't mind read what he's thinking. And if he tells us, we have to believe it, right? We don't have evidence that it's not true. And so we don't need to go thinking and listening to those silly thoughts in our brains. Our brains will offer us some things trying to keep us safe. Again, back to what evolutionary biologists have learned about, the cavemen needing to be safe from the animals and the other tribes and the cliffs. We don't have all that, and our brains will want to tell us there's a danger, and really everything's okay. So husband most likely is a great guy, most likely it's not a big deal, and in a few years we're not even going to remember this night, okay? So we want to just calm ourselves down, think those different thoughts. You know what, hey, he didn't mean to forget. He loves and cares for me in many ways, and we can even think of those different ways, because in that moment where there's something is done that we're not really happy about, we can focus on it too much. It's not that we deny it, but we also don't need to give it too much attention, right? So we can give it less attention or no attention, right? It's all up to us how we're thinking. So we control what goes on in there, and then eventually control our feelings. You're going to feel calm, respected, confident, not only in the relationship, but in yourself, because you're going to say, hey, I got my own back. I'm going to support myself. I'm going to do what I need to do today during this time. If for some reason we can't go out because he made other plans or he's still at work, it's going to be okay. I can support myself. I can find some happiness, some fun, some excitement, some quiet time, whatever that may be. Okay. You could try to plan another time. You could, if depending on the reservation you made or the babysitter, whatever needs to be done to make a reschedule, to just figure a time to do that in the future, and just remind yourself that he does want to go with you, and even if worst case scenario he doesn't want to do that event or isn't in the mood to do a date night, you can still again support yourself and be there and love and respect your plans for yourself and that you're going to do with yourself. Okay, so those are some models we can look at. So pretty much anything you bring up. We're talking about marriage right now, but anything could be an A, right? Any event in life. So any relationship issue, marriage and parenting, any family member and coworkers, and then we can go on to health and wellness and all different topics. Talk about spiritual topics and just anything, because it's all the whole idea with the life coaching is that we're going to look at our thoughts and challenge them. Okay, so then we want to consider communication, and why is that important? Okay, so I know that a lot of us probably know that arguing and conflict and arguments that just can't be resolved and conflicts that can't be figured out is a huge stress. It's actually one of the leading causes of divorce, and so it's something definitely to look at. I think we need to remember the differences between men and women. I think it's kind of obvious, but also helpful to point out that women use twice as many words as men in general, of course, is generally speaking, and sometimes will just express themselves in a different way. Some people need to think to talk, and some people need to talk to think. So for me, if there's something I want to deal with, whether it's I'm stressed or angry or sad, any of those emotions, I really need to talk it out, and then I can think about it, because it's all up in here and I just need to express it, and I like talking, and that just works for me. Others need to think. They need to retreat, so they need alone time, they need their space and their mind to think, and then they'll talk. So typically, I think these two people marry each other, so that can make it frustrating. The more upset you are about something, probably the more you want to talk about it if you're the talker, and the more upset you're about something, the more you want to be alone if you're the person who needs to think first. So respecting each other, but also figuring out a way to meet in the middle, okay? So it wouldn't be fair if the person who needs to talk is never left to talk, and the person who's upset demands that it's just always quiet and alone, because they'll feel misheard, misunderstood, neglected, just completely disrespected, and their spouse doesn't care and isn't giving them what they need. On the other hand, if the spouse who needs to talk demands that the quiet spouse, or the spouse that wants to think first about it, talks, they are pushing their spouse to do something that they're not comfortable with, and then they're not feeling respected because they don't know what to say. They don't have anything to say. They need to think. And so there's different ways to work that out. One, I think, is just knowing the difference and then deciding, how much time, do you get 10 minutes? Do you get a day? Somewhere in between, and for your time to think or talk. Also, we can always talk with other people, or if there's no one to talk to in the moment, your spouse isn't able or willing or in the right place to listen, you could journal, because that is sort of the same thing. You're getting it out verbally, writing it down. And just another interesting bit of wisdom that I've heard from marriage therapists is that we always want to give 5 positives for every 1 negative. And that's in all relationships, but really important with marriage. Before we critique or bring up something we don't like or any sort of negative thought that we want to share, we better make sure we have 5. Now, of course, that's just like in general. We're not going to really count or keep track, but obviously the idea is to have more positive than negative, but 5 times the amount. So it's not just, well, I said you did good at this, or 2 weeks ago I complimented you for this, or yesterday I thanked you for that. It's like it needs to be a little bit more than just 1-to-1, or even 2-to-1, or even 3-to-1. So we need to kind of think about that. And I would love to give you a lot more information. This is just kind of a brief idea of how we coach with ABCs and some ways that we work on thinking differently, and just some words of wisdom and strategies we can use to be more successful. So I'm making a marriage workshop. It'll be 60 minutes, and typically the price would be $75, but I'm going to offer it for $45 up until February 1st. So if you want to be able to get that YouTube link, that it is a private video, I will send you. You need to send me via PayPal the $45 to purchase that. And if you'd rather have one-on-one coaching where something can be specifically tailored to you, if you have a very specific question, or you just want to spend more time where we can really flesh out details and I can ask you some questions about your brain and show you what you're thinking and really do that in more depth, that's what one-on-one coaching is for. So typically that's going to be $50 for the hour, but right now I'm going to offer that for $25. And so I really would love you to take me up on that, because I don't often have that offer available. So again, for $45, you can keep the course and watch it whenever you want. You can listen to the audio. You could watch the video. You can watch it in segments. You can watch it in the future if you feel like you need it. It's yours to keep. And then for the one-on-one coaching, you're going to learn all these different mindset strategies, cognitive behavioral therapy skills, positive and negative patterns of thinking. And those, again, are things that you can keep in the future. So it's not just you call me on a Zoom and we talk about one specific issue or a question you have about marriage or just a small aspect of marriage, and then that's it, and you spent $25 just for that. No, what you're getting is $25 each session to really practice that skill. What I pay for with my coach is just that practice, because even learning the ABCs took a few months to just kind of understand that it really is true that my thoughts are creating my results. And it took a while to get there. And then also just to try it in different areas of life, right? Sometimes it's easier with parenting than with marriage. Sometimes it's easier at work than it is at home. Sometimes it's easier in the diet and exercise area than it is in dealing with a difficult relationship. Okay, so to really take that skill, to really practice it, and to also be encouraged, because all of us are going to fail, and all of us are going to kind of go back into those old habits. All of us are going to need time, right? Just like in a sport, we need some time to really hone in our skills and to become an expert in them. Just like anything new, you're learning an instrument, you really need someone to guide you, someone to hold your hand and step by step get you to where you want to be. So the one-on-one I suggest is weekly, and at least 6 weeks. You would get more results, and it'd be more effective for you if you were doing the 12-week session. So again, we can talk about marriage and parenting. Those are the 2 topics that I focus on, but really all of life. And not only does all of life affect your marriage and your parenting, but marriage and parenting affects the rest of your life. So I don't really think anything is off the table for life coaching. So hope that explains everything. If you have any more questions, you can email me, Lauren, Lauren, at lifecoachmama.com. Mama is M-A-M-A. And I am on YouTube. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So my website is www.lifecoachmama.com. and you can purchase the courses, the coaching, and chat with me there.